Today, Mac and I are releasing the definitive Total War Warhammer 3 multiplayer campaign tier list. We're covering all 95 legendary lords, so strap in. This is gonna be a long one. Multiplayer campaigns play very differently than your typical single player game. A lord that is good against the AI might not be so good in multiplayer. But what exactly makes a faction good in multiplayer?
Ultimately, expansion is what makes a faction either good or bad in multiplayer campaigns, and expansion in Warhammer is determined by three key factors: economy, climate, and roster. So keep these in mind as we kick off this tier list with the most popular faction in this game, the good old Empire.
Before Thrones of Decay DLC, I would say, yeah, I like them, but they're just mid. But post-update, they are a lot more fun to play as, they have more interesting mechanics, and in terms of strength, they are just so much better than they were, especially Karl Franz, Elspeth, and Balthazar.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, Balthazar getting endless wizards and everything. But I mean, the biggest thing for the Empire is they actually have an expanded roster now. Those Hotchland long rifles are insane.
Yeah, and their economy is one of the best in the game, definitely top tier. And they have suitable climate in a lot of different regions. And as we know, economy, climate, and roster is the biggest things in this game. The biggest thing they were missing was their roster, but with that being better.
Yeah, I mean, they have temperate climate, which is huge. And I think Gelt can settle mountain settlements, which is pretty great as well. So, no, I love the Empire. Actually, I think they might be my favorite faction in the entire game. And before, I mean, I had to be a masochist to play them, but it was a little tough. But
now they're fun and they could expand a lot faster.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, so Riggs, who do you think the best Empire faction is?
Well, I think because magic is just... it's just meta
it's
in this game.
So good.
It really is. It's just so good. If you're going against an army and they have a mage and you don't, honestly, 7 out of 10 times, you're probably going to lose that battle just because of how much versatility and power a mage brings.
Oh, yeah.
And Balthazar, oh my god, the amount of mages he could bring.
Plus the Cataclysm spells, which are good.
Yeah, those are great. And that's just kind of like a cherry on top of just being able to have a light wizard, a life wizard, and like a fire wizard. And all. If you have those 3 wizards in all of your armies, good luck to anyone else trying to really beat you. I mean, they're amazing. You could heal, you could use Net of Anmatak, and you could just use Firestorm and Flaming Head. It's
and Dwellers Below as well.
Oh yeah, God, oh my God.
So
Don't
good.
even get me started on Dwellers Below.
So good. So where do you think he goes?
Honestly, I think he's S. I really think he's S now.
I agree. I think he's so good. He's so good.
For the other Empire factions, though, they can't compete with that. They're great, but they can't compete with that.
Oh, for sure.
And I'd put Karl and Elspeth in high A. I let you decide on where you want to defer between the two. I think it's pretty close.
I agree. No. I think Karl and Elspeth are right up there. I actually do think Karl's better, though. I think his campaign mechanics are great. Elspeth's are great as well, and the armory's great, but being able to tech up your settlements so fast is insane. So I think Karl gets the edge on Elspeth. But that leaves 2 Empire factions left, and I'm gonna cover the Hunts Marshal because we actually just played a campaign with him, and yeah, even despite the upgrades, Hunts Marshal just sucks. He just does. He's C tier in my opinion. He's not. When I say he sucks, he's not horrible, but compared to the rest of the Empire factions, he's definitely leaving a lot to be desired. He doesn't get access to a lot of units. It's tough to get mages early on. He starts in Lustria, which is just a tough spot to begin with. He's just not great. But that also, the last one is Volkmar. What are your thoughts on Volkmar, Riggs?
As for Volkmar, he still gets the good Empire buffs from the update, but he's in a better starting location than Marcus, which just means a ton. So yeah. I put him in about B tier because he still just can't compete with Elspeth or the Emperor.
Oh, I agree. I think it's a good place.
Now let's move west from the Empire into Bretonnia.
I mean, Bretonnia is an interesting faction. They haven't been updated in a long time. I think their last true update came in Warhammer 2. So
yeah, and you could feel that for sure. They just, there's some factions here that haven't got an update in a while, and you could just feel the age compared to the new.
For sure. You can. I mean, their mechanics are so bland. The peasant economy is brutal. You compare that to like the Dark Elves slave economy or the Chaos Dwarves labor economy. It's just not even comparable.
Their economy was a strong suit in the past, not so much anymore. Their starting locations, okay. They have okay suitable climate, but it's nothing to be right home about.
Oh, for sure.
The biggest thing that holds them back, which I think we're in agreement with, is their roster.
Oh, yeah.
Multiplayer.
Brutal. They only only have, I mean, their best units are all cavalry. Sure, some are flying cav, and flying cav is great, but when you only have cav, your enemy just knows exactly what you're bringing, and the human's not the AI. They're going to be bringing pikes, they're going to be bringing halberds, they're going to be bringing things that are anti-large.
Yes.
Just
humans
shred
counter
you.
humans. AI don't make armies to specifically counter humans.
Exactly.
So if you're going against just an all-out cavalry spam, you could counter that as a human quite easily.
Really
They're
easily.
just Bretonnia as a faction are kind of just stuck where you don't have as many options to play chess with a human player. You're really stuck on one play style, and the other human could really take advantage of that.
Yeah, agreed.
But now to get into the actual ranking of the lords, I think as a whole, I mean, I want to say D tier as a faction.
I agree. I think especially Lewin Leoncoeur and Rapunzel, I mean, they just don't have anything going for them. They still have really old mechanics. Their climates are okay, but not great. And like we said, their roster is just brutal. They don't have anything specific. The Fey Enchantress with her increased replenishment rate is nice, but I just don't think that's enough to move her up to C.
No, I mean, maybe above Lewin, maybe. So you could put her higher in the list there, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's up a tier, no. The only one that I think we could agree that might be bumped up a tier is
Bordello.
Alberic de Bordello.
Yeah, I agree.
De Bordello.
I mean, plus 50% income from all ports is really, really good. And actually,
It's
that's
amazing.
like, it's so good. It's so good. So I'm a fan of him, even though, yeah, not a fan of Bretonnia as a whole. So I think that takes us to our first very interesting faction, which is the Beastmen. And I think it's our first not multiplayer race, or at least some of them are.
There are some factions in multiplayer that are honestly non-viable, and we would put the Beastmen as one of them.
Yep.
They walk around in stalk stance or ambush stance at all times, so you can just really never know where they're at. They're also horde factions, which are just insane.
They don't need
to be able to-
settlements.
They don't need settlements, which is how you win multiplayer games, taking the settlements from the other player.
Yeah.
So being able to move around, never die, stalk, ambush, I mean,
They're just not fun to play against, and you can't kill them. Like, they're just so good. You're getting ambushed every time you're playing a battle. It's crazy.
I say the only scenario where I could see them being fun to play against or fun to play with even in multiplayer campaigns is if you have rules set where like, hey, we can't leave this certain area. You know, this is an Empire bash. You can only play as Khazrak in the Empire, can't leave. And even then, he might dominate with the ability
For sure.
that the Beastmen have. So
Well, and Torox can literally take over the entire world in like 20 turns or something. It's insane. Like, he just gets movement buffs every time he wins a battle. He's just insane. And that's to say nothing of the other Beastmen lords. They're crazy.
And making the settlements around the blood grounds uninhabitable. It's just they make them so defensible. Yeah.
Yeah, the Beastmen are just crazy good. So that's our first non-multiplayer viable faction. You can still play with them, of course, but prepare for pain.
At your own risk.
Yes, at your own risk. But next up is, again, one of my favorite factions. I'm torn between them and the Empire, but I love Cathay. Cathay is such a fun faction for me. I've had it. We've got several videos of them on the channel, actually. I know one of them I lost, but I absolutely love Cathay. What are your thoughts on Cathay, Riggs?
Cathay is another good showing from a human faction. The roster overall, very solid. Their economy, also very solid.
Yeah,
Their
great
expansion
economy.
is also really good, especially at the beginning. However, the biggest issue with Cathay is the suitable climates not having mountains.
Yeah, that's rough. They have to cross the Mountain of Morn, and that's a huge chunk of their expansion westward. It's brutal. I mean, that's true for Miao Ying and Zhao Ming. This is not including the Jade Court. Wanbo is insane. But yeah, their suitable climates are tough. Their economy's great. Their roster's good, but they're easily one of my favorite factions. They can just spam out alchemists. I really, really love Cathay. But
Yeah, their expansion and the ability to have a ton of armies is just multiplayer heaven. Like, expansion and numbers means a ton in multiplayer, especially when you limit the doom stacks like we do.
oh yeah, for sure. No, yeah.
But this is also an interesting faction that I don't think any of the lords are that close. I think there's a big disparity between each of them.
Well, I don't know. Miao Ying and Zhao Ming they're pretty close, but I would definitely put Zhao Ming above Miao Ying in the rankings. Miao Ying just doesn't really have anything going for her. Definitely better than Volkmar. She's a high B faction in my opinion. She's still Cathay. She's still good, but she just gives like some bonuses to increase ammunition. And as we know in multiplayer games, you know, ranged units are hugely vulnerable. So making that your mainstay is a high risk. Whereas Zhao Ming, he's buffing armored units, and his infantry are the cream of the crop. You can get peasants with 72 armor in his faction, which is insane. They're just tanks.
Stupid.
Yeah, they're so good. But that leaves us with the good old Wanbo.
Not much we gotta say about this guy. I don't know. I
No,
don't think.
super S tier, just amazing. His mechanics are just crazy. He can get a ridiculous number of armies. He can do intrigue at the court. He can do everything. He's just incredible. Next up is the Chaos Dwarves, and we actually recently had a video of them on the channel.
Yeah, and they were fun. They are fun. I have to say, these new factions coming out with actual interesting faction mechanics make me sad that my favorite faction isn't getting this love. And the Chaos Dwarfs are one of those factions that are becoming one of my favorite factions because of their mechanics. They're just fun to play as. They're versatile. They just make you smile while playing.
You just do so many things with them. The roster's crazy.
Yeah, and they're good. They're good.
Oh, I mean, that's to say nothing of. They have no limits on climate. Everything is suitable to them. Every single type of climate is suitable.
Which, honestly, that of itself, like, their roster is good, but it's limited by the unit caps. And their economy is great, but is it one of the best in the game? It's not the best, but it's great. The biggest thing that really actually gives them an edge in a lot of multiplayer campaigns is that suitable climate. Everywhere they go, they're getting 0 debuffs. That is, we cannot understand how huge that is.
Yeah,
it's massive.
They're amazing. They can also spam out a lot of low tier, but still very dangerous armies. They're really good. Yeah. So where would you place the Chaos Dwarves, Rick?
Well, do you think they could beat the Empire and Zhao Ming in campaign?
I think they have the potential to. I think it's a close matchup. I think the fact that they can be out in the Chaos Waste and play really defensible and force the Empire and Cathay into bad engagements, I definitely think they have the potential to be better than them. Yeah. I'm not saying they're necessarily better than Karl or Elspeth.
Yeah, I'm just worried about them getting outscaled by Karl and Zhao. Well, not really Zhao because they start very close.
And Zhao's climates will contain him. As you know, he slows down.
No, but yeah, this is a tier list though on how good they are in general, not in a 1v1. So I think in a 1v1, who knows? But across the map, if Zhao is playing someone across the map and the Chaos Dwarves are fighting someone across the map, I give the edge to the Chaos Dwarves.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they can just settle everything. It's crazy. I think that they got a good spot here in A tier. They're all around the same strength. I think Drazoath is slightly better than the rest, but I think they're all really, really solid factions.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that keeps them below the Empire is their expansion. The Empire, Elspeth and Karl could expand so fast.
For sure, they can. So that takes us to the Dark Elves. Such a good faction, right, Riggs?
They are amazing. Their economy is one of the best, if not the best in the game. They could expand super quickly with their Black Arcs. Their suitable climate is pretty good. Not everywhere, not as Chaos Dwarf levels, but it's good.
It's definitely good, yeah.
And their roster is one of the best in the game as well. So putting all these together, they're better than the Empire. So are we doing high A or lower S?
Oh, no. I think they're all just definitely S tier. They're so good. Even their worst Dark Elf, which can make it be like Khorne Hellebron, they're just still so good. And you look at somebody like Lokir Felhart, who can literally spam out Black Arcs. I had a playthrough with him. I had something like 5 Black Arcs by like turn 25. Absolutely insane. And Black Arcs also reduce upkeep by 50%. Plus, you can use edicts and spam out money by sacrificing slaves to the altar of death. So they're just so good. In my opinion, they're definitely all at least in S tier. The conclusion of the Dark Elves, that brings us to good old Daniel, the Daemons of Chaos. Everybody's favorite faction for sure. Also, definitely one of the best factions in the game, right, Riggs?
Yeah, no. Economy sucks. Expansion sucks. Roster sucks.
It's just everything just sucks. We have our first F tier faction.
Yeah.
He's just so bad. He's so bad. We don't even need to talk about him too much longer because he's just terrible, but play him if you're looking for a horrible time, guys. Great multiplayer faction.
I would say that. I mean, maybe he's fun, maybe he's interesting. Let's say this. If you want to challenge yourself, play as Daniel.
Yeah, sure. Against a human, though, there's just... All right. Now that we're making our way into the Daemons of Chaos, we got Khorne up. Definitely an interesting faction, Riggs. You've played a good amount of Khorne.
This one is a very good example of the disparity between single player and multiplayer. In single player, this dude's an absolute beast. I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, he's great in multiplayer too, but he's not as good because in multiplayer, numbers matter a lot more, not just the strength of a couple armies. And these blood hosts, while amazing, later game, they
run out of steam.
Their later game, their strength stops. They run out of steam. And so I'd say if we're talking about turns 0 to 50 in a multiplayer campaign, yeah, Khorne's one of the best. But if we're talking about a longer game, if Khorne's going against an actual empire with numbers, with defenses, with a good economy, that's when they start to struggle. And that's when he just cannot build up the infrastructure to maintain a long, grueling war against one of these other factions like the Empire or especially Dark Elf and stuff. So with that being said, I give Zhao a victory in the campaign between the two.
Yeah,
so
I would as well.
I'd say Khorne would probably Volkmar. I mean, if I want one-on-one he beat Volkmar, but we're talking about just their strength in general.
Slaughter Volkmar. Yeah, I definitely think
strength in general, though. I mean,
I definitely think Khorne would be in B tier, just because. Yeah,
definitely. I just don't know if he's. I think he's in B tier. I just don't know if he's ahead of Miao Ying or not.
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, he's definitely at least solid B tier faction, but that's a tough matchup. I mean, that's what these tiers are for, though. Any of these factions, well, poor Volkmar would just have his head smashed in. But well,
tell us why we're wrong in the comments below.
yeah, for real. So then our second mono god,
F tier. Let's move on.
Yeah, F tier. F tier. Yeah. No. What are your thoughts on Nurgle, Riggs?
Nurgle's got a boost, but it's not enough of a boost.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Nurgle. I like how they play. I like the idea of a Nurgle. I like their style.
Agreed.
I want them to be like really good.
Yeah.
But their growth and their expansion are so slow. Yes, their roster could be very good. Yes, their even economy could get pretty good.
Yeah.
New infection mechanic, it's great.
Yeah.
But like we said earlier in the vid, expansion is king, and they expand just too slow.
Yeah, they're really slow. And their armies also just cost a ton. They just have so much. They're just penalized for existing. But with that said, I mean, I played Epidemius. He's just brutal. I wouldn't say he's not F tier because, I mean, Epidemius is definitely better than the Demons of Chaos. Some of the other F tier factions that we'll get into later, but they're not going to be Bretonnia. I'm going to put Epidemius and honestly Kugath down here in D tier. But you played Tamarkon, Riggs. I mean, I'm thinking,
he's higher.
Yeah, for sure. What, C tier?
Yeah, I mean, I'd put him above Lewin, and would he beat Alberic the Borderland? Yeah, honestly, I think he could. I think
he would beat both of these guys, to be honest.
His chieftains are no joke, especially leveled up. And he has great defensible position up there in the Chaos Waste, and he's just strong. He does suffer from lack of early game growth, but you know, he has the strength to overcome that over time. So
for sure.
I think he's a good spot.
For sure, I agree. So for our third mono god, we've got Tzeentch, and this is an interesting one because we got Kairos Fate Weaver and the Changeling. I feel like Kairos is probably C.
I don't know. They still got he's all climate suitable, and he's starts in the southern ways, which are so hard to attack. And I mean, he's got the changing of the ways, which would be good in the hands of a human.
Yeah, but you don't get that much of it. Like, it's kind of like the Slaanesh.
I know, but yes, but I mean, even just stopping a faction entirely for a turn, even if it happens one board, even it's still like
once every 20.
Yeah, I mean, that still really sucks. Because I would put him above. I mean, I think Kairos could be Volk. I think he could beat Khorne though. I'd put him higher C or lower B.
I agree with you. I mean, I think they're still a chaos faction. They still got a lot of great units. He's got the changing of the ways. He's an interesting lord.
Yeah, and he's better than Tamarkon. I'd put him lower B because
I agree.
Every single climate suitable, the changing of the ways. Tzeentch is some of the better demon units.
For sure.
Good spellcaster.
For sure. He's not bad. Definitely not. Then that leaves us with the Changeling. I'm just going to do us all a favor. Not multiplayer viable. We don't even need to talk about him. He can't be killed. He's immortal. You don't even know who you're fighting. That is the purest form of a single player faction. So we strongly recommend not playing with the Changeling in multiplayer if you're looking for a good challenge.
But, you know, give it a shot. Let us know how it goes. I'm actually curious. So.
For sure, yeah. Likewise. And the final Chaos God, we have Slaanesh and Nakari. They could probably do with a few more Slaanesh factions.
They could. Yeah, Slaanesh needs a little love, ironically.
Yeah.
They're bad. They're pretty bad, though. Let's be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
And I mean, besides the, some mortal units, but...
They're fast, but they just have terrible auto-resolve.
Yeah, the auto-resolve's not good, so they can't expand very quick on the donut. They have a lot of strong enemies around them. They just get outscaled and outgunned pretty quickly from a lot of factions.
They have pretty good climates, but also one other big thing about their roster, Rigs, is they have no anti-large. They're forced to use basic spears for so long. They're just so bad from a roster perspective.
Yeah, so honestly, I mean, I'd consider giving Bretonnia the edge to them and just put them above Kuga.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I would actually put them above Raponce, though. Raponce is pretty terrible.
All right, so I'll let you kick off the Dwarves because
sure, yeah.
I know you enjoy them.
Well, I've always wanted the Dwarves to be good, and obviously pre-Thrones of Decay update, that was not the reality. They were just so bad. Terrible growth, terrible everything, no magic, just awful. But post-Thrones of Decay Dwarves, they are just insane, dude. They are insane. Even the worst Dwarves are so good. The Age of Reckoning is amazing. Their troops are buffed. buffed. You get the Age of Reckoning armies now, the Grudge Settler armies. For most of their factions, they have a ton of suitable climates. Their economy's amazing now. When you max out an Age of Reckoning, you get plus 50 growth in all of your settlements, so they're growing even if you don't have growth buildings. You get thunder barges. You get the gyrocopters are insane now. They're just unbelievably good now. They're so good. I'm gonna do us a favor here and say Malachi, dude. Malachi's got to be S tier. You get his shotgun cannons. You get Spirit of Grunky. He's semi-horde. He's just so good.
He is. I'd put him above Khorne.
Oh yeah.
Maybe even Marathi.
Yeah, I would as well. He's just, I mean,
Rakarth's starting position's not as good.
It's tough. I'd say it's close. Yeah, I'd say it's close. I mean, we'll give it to the Dwarves. But I'll put Malachi up there. He's definitely S tier though. He's really good. Amazing faction for sure. Clan Angrund, they're still a dwarf, but they're penalized so hard by 8 peaks. My personal opinion after playing them, they got a lot of things that are really good about them, but the fact that you can have only half the number of armies until you capture 8 peaks, and against a human player who's going to stop that from happening, really hard to work with Clan Angrund. They're still good, just not as good as the other dwarves. I'm going to put them in B tier. But the other dwarves definitely up here in A, and I'm just putting up here for right now.
Well, how do they compare to their chaotic cousins?
Personally, I think that they're better than the chaotic cousins. In fact, I would make an argument that Karak Kadrin is arguably the highest on the A tier faction now because they have so many climates for themselves. Ungrim Iron Fist can settle so many climates. Chaotic Wasteland is yellow to him. So he can go out there. I mean, yellow is not amazing, but it's not red. And that just opens up a whole new layer of the map with all their other benefits as well. And the Thunder Barges.
But the biggest thing about it's unpleasant for temperate.
I mean, it is. But that's kind of all dwarves. To me, yellow Chaotic Wasteland is crazy. I would definitely put Ungrim Iron Fist as easily the best dwarf. In my opinion,
besides Malachi.
Yeah, besides Malachi. I would say Ungrim Iron Fist is the highest on this list. I think that all the other dwarves are higher than the Chaos dwarves, just because they can grow so fast. They can grow so fast and get so many good armies. They're just amazing. All right, Rig, the Greenskins, a faction we haven't featured too much on the channel. What are your thoughts about?
Yeah, and there's a reason why. It's because they are also one of those factions that right after their update, they were so good compared to all these other factions. The Dwarves were still bad. The Dark Elves were not as good, I don't think. There was no Chaos Dwarves. Empires suck.
Yeah.
So again, we're going to bring it back. Well, there's not many more factions that can expand as good as the Greenskins.
There's not. Oh my gosh.
It's just so quick. Their confederations on killing the Lord of the other Greenskin faction.
Yeah.
Their economy's amazing. Their
solid roster.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
And their suitable climates is pretty darn good. And the biggest reason is the Wa. I mean,
oh my god, yeah.
Just doubling all your forces so early on into the game, you could expand like a virus. And by the time it's turn 25, you have just so many more settlements than your opponent.
So much territory.
It doesn't matter if they're playing as a great faction because their roster could be way better than yours. It won't matter. You'll have way more land, thus way more money, thus way more armies, and it's a GG.
Yeah.
So with that all being said, we're going to split them up between S and A, I think.
Yeah. I'll go first with Ground the Paunch. Ground the Paunch, easily S tier. His ability he can give his goblins terror. He can give his goblins regeneration really early on. Regenerating goblins. He can give them physical resistance. They could become just absolutely unstoppable. And goblins can already become really good in the Greenskin roster. So Ground the Paunch, I mean, he's up here. Honestly, I would put him higher than Malachi. His ability to have unkillable armies is actually crazy.
Yeah, but the Dwarven Confederation, though. Could the Dwarven Confederation bridge that gap, though, on expansion?
I don't think so, because I think the Greenskins can confederate faster, and his abilities are just so strong. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's true. And then for the other ones...
where does Azag go? I mean, they're the Greenskins, right? Like, they all have Wa. They're all amazing. Ground the Paunch is the one with, like, some unique abilities, specifically Grom's Cauldron, which is insane, and makes him definitely probably the best Greenskin. But the rest of them are also amazing.
Yeah, it'd probably be easier to rank them from best to worst, because I think there's some clear bests, which is Ground the Paunch.
For sure.
Scarsnick.
Yeah, Scarsnick's amazing. Let's just put them up. They're all going to be an S for sure.
And then Wurzag, and that's just because Gringor has an easy time confederating.
He does. Quick. There's a lot of Greenskins over there that he can just kill their lords with.
I'd say you're right. He's still great, but just got to pick the worst. Probably Azag.
Azag?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably agree. The physical resist on the Bloody Hands and Wurzag's Savage Orcs is insane.
It's amazing, yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Azag's probably the worst. Still great, but not as good as the other ones. But I'll let you take this one, Riggs.
Yeah, not for the good old High Elves, which desperately need an update. I love them. They were my favorite faction. They still might be, but they are just not as interesting a faction anymore.
Why?
And that's just because all the new amazing stuff that's come out for all these other factions since Warhammer 2. There are so many more interesting mechanics that have come to the game in regards to other factions. But the High Elves, although they're good still, very good.
Yeah, they are. They are.
They are just, there's some weaknesses for sure we'll get to, and they're just not as interesting as a faction anymore. The most interesting part of the High Elves are their diverse roster, which it's an amazing roster, one of the best in the game. Honestly, competing with the best, it's maybe Wood Elves over them, but maybe more versatile. So I don't know, it's hard to rank, but the roster is amazing.
Amazing.
It's just, the things that are holding them back now are their economy is not as good as some of these other factions, and the biggest reason for their downfall in multiplayer campaigns is the climate.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
High Elves are sequestered on their donut and in the New World, and one of the biggest disadvantages they have in multiplayer campaigns, if they want to have campaigns against old world factions, is that each High Elf Lord has temperate of it as an unpleasant climate, which is awful.
Yeah, that's really bad. And some of them are even worse. Like Naggaroth only gets what? Frozen Wasteland and Chaotic Wasteland?
That's its only 2 suitable climates. It can't even have pleasant climate on the donut. On
its core territories are yellow, which is crazy.
And the debuffs you get from uninhabitable terrain and unpleasant terrain they matter a lot. They matter a lot in multiplayer.
Oh yeah, dude.
Especially the replenishment rate. Yeah, one of the biggest strengths about the High Elves are the single entities, and with unpleasant climate, you could just it will take 10 turns to replenish a low health single entity back to full. Maybe not that much, but it's a lot.
A lot. Well, when we were playing that Cathay High Elf matchup, I mean, that was the biggest thing holding you back. You just couldn't replenish. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, they still have a great roster. Their economy's pretty good. But where would you rank Alariel?
Well, I think for multiplayer campaigns in totality, where expansion again is just the best, Alariel and Tyrion really stand apart. Oh, that's another thing. Their confederations aren't that easy anymore. Like,
no, they're not.
The Dwarves could confederate a lot easier. The Empire could confederate a lot easier. The High Elves just don't want to confederate for so long, which, you know, takes away another big strength, which is their legendary lords and having 6 of them, 6 good ones. So
yeah, no, exactly. It's the whole net present value thing.
Yeah, but to rank them, I'd say that.
Yeah. So where does Alariel go?
Tyrion and Alariel, I could pretty confidently say are better than Miao Ying. They're better than B tier. I put them in lower A tier. I don't know if they're as good as the Chaos Dwarves or Xiao Ming, but I'd say they're right below an A tier.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I wanna maybe put Emmerich with that too.
Okay. I mean, Emmerich's Doomstack is insane.
His Doomstack's insane. His expansion's not as good, but he has suitable climate in the mountains and in wastelands.
Well, he also spawns with all that territory around him, so it's not really a problem for a while.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say he's as good as Tyrion and Alariel, but he's up there. Then there's a drop off to Teclis, Eltharion, and
Naggaroth.
Alethanar. Yeah. For a multiplayer, Alethanar, even though, oh god, it's hard. The biggest thing that I want to put Alethanar next is because of the stock stance, which is so amazing, especially with the roster of the High Elves. I mean, it's just, it's so good. And even with unsuitable climate, you have to think about that. Like just, especially boosting it, you could just ambush on attack as the High Elves is really good.
Oh, good.
So I think that literally that alone puts him higher. I want to put Eltharion next because Teclis' start location is just awful. Teclis,
awful.
Teclis, although amazing as a spellcaster, he just cannot expand quick at all. It's so slow. He's got Kairos doing the changing the ways on you, going up into the jungle, and then he doesn't even have unpleasant territory for desert. So and that's right after the jungle. So he could get barely any starting settlements. Oh yeah, and then he can't confederate that easy. So
probably a C tier for sure. Right.
Yeah, I'd still Tamarkan though. I'd still say he beats Tamarkan. I mean, he'd still. Man, it's hard though.
I don't know though. I think Tamarkan would be honest. I mean, Tamarkan's got all suitable climates.
But we have to think more like not one-on-one, like just in general.
No, I know, but I mean, honestly, dude. I mean, Teclis' start is just so bad. Like you said, he's getting harassed by Kairos. I mean, Archon beats him in a one-on-one, and I think Tamarkan would. I think the Hunts Marshal would. I think Bordalo would. They just can expand way quicker without having to go in the opposite direction and then give away the settlements. Because think about it, Teclis just gets harassed by that entire southern. It's not just Kairos.
But I think he definitely beat Borderlo, and I don't know about the Hunts Marshal too, because he just outranged the Hunts Marshal, and Borderlo. High Elves are very good anti-large. Very good anti-large.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying Borderlo is going to be able to outscale them a lot quicker. Just because Borderlo, what I'm trying to say is like Teclis' whole southern region, that entire like Antarctica region, is going to be harassing him the entire game. There's really not much he can even do about that. that. And he also is so far away from the other high elves, and he has no suitable climates. It's just jungle. And then he goes right into desert and badlands, which are all red for him.
Yeah, but he's on like Imric levels of good main army.
I mean,
because of how amazing the spellcaster he can become. I put him higher C. I don't know about Tamarkan. I definitely better. I think he's better than Borderlow.
Okay.
I think that's a fair.
And that's a fact.
Debatable. Let us know how stupid we are below.
Where's
and for these two, I'd say Eltharion, if he wasn't split up, if he didn't start in the Badlands and the Donut, I mean, yeah, you could give up one or the other. Honestly, because his suitable climate's a lot better, I might want to give it to Eltharion. I really do. Because Alethanar, God, it's so hard though. That's stock.
Yeah.
This one's hard. This one's really hard. I think Alethanar could expand quicker and faster. Well, no, I mean, honestly, if you could expand into the Badlands and control the Donut.
Yeah, pretty strong.
This one's hard.
I think I would give it to, I mean, yeah, no, the long game is really matters. I mean, trying to like hit these two factions, I would take Eltharion, to be honest. The stock's good, but like, it's not good enough.
Thenar's expansion's not bad though. I mean, the New World, it's more spread out than the Old World for sure. There's a lot less settlements.
Well, yeah, but dude, he only has Frozen and Chaotic Wasteland. That's it.
No, not even that, just Wasteland.
Oh, just Wasteland? Oh, I thought it was Chaotic Wasteland.
Oh, yeah, and Chaotic Wasteland's still uninhabitable. It's not even unpleasant.
Yeah, he's just awful. And like, there's no Wasteland even around him.
Mountains are unpleasant? I mean, what?
That's what I'm saying. He has nothing. He has no suitable climates.
Temperate Island. Like, how is that a thing? See it? Come on. Like, how is Temperate Island? How? Yeah, that's such a big deal. That's why, even with the stock stance, I think you got to give it to Eltharion.
Yeah. So I'm guessing B.
Yeah.
That look good?
That looks right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of solid B tier factions. Still high elves are still good. But yeah, I mean, having no...
Well, that's the biggest thing. They could expand fast. They all could expand fast. The biggest thing and honestly, that's a juxtaposition to the main detraction for most of these factions is that they can expand fast, which holds them back. For the high elves, for the most part, they can expand fast. It's just the other things that hold them back, like the climate.
The climates.
Like their economy, it's good, but it's not great. It's really reliant on trade. It's not the best in multiplayer. So it's the other things that hold them back, really, besides the expansion.
Oh, for sure.
I need an update. Give me something interesting, please.
Make it interesting, please.
Give us just like some unique faction mechanic besides intrigue at the court. Just
I agree. They do need a mechanical update for sure. It's just boring.
Imric and Alethanars all it has to do is just fighting battles, and just trying to find these lords, which is not interesting. Tharion's is literally just capturing lords and getting buffs or upgrades. Not really that interesting.
Yeah. Well, here we go again with me saying that it's my favorite faction, but it honestly is one of my favorite factions, Kislev. I just love Kislev.
It goes from playing no other faction besides Sylvania in Warhammer 2 to saying like 5 factions.
I mean, I love Kislev. The problem with Kislev though is that they suck. Not because of their roster. Their roster's amazing, actually. It's, in my opinion, one of the best rosters in the game. Warbear's insane. Ice Guard.
Streltsy, Ice Guard.
Oh yeah, Warbear's.
Zargard
are so good for melee infantry. So good. Their ice magic and stuff isn't great, but they have the Lore of the Hags now. They have some low tier armor piercing anti-large infantry, which is great. Their lords aren't bad. They've got a lot of good things. They've received some buffs that have made them a little bit better, but the biggest problem on why I think Kislev is just bad is that their economy is so bad.
It's brutal.
It's brutal. If you go and look at what their building ratios are, it's insane. We're talking about some of these buildings cost 30 turns to make your money back. It is ridiculous. They are accosted all game economically where they're never really able to get off the ground. But you couple that with also, they just have a brutal start position. Looking at Katerin, Boris, and the Patriarch, they're just nestled up there in the top right. Like, they're pinned right up next to the borders of the Chaos and Norsca. And it's just really tough for them to ever really get going and expand. They're reliant on pretty bad units because they just can't get their good stuff because they can't afford it. Yeah. So with all that said, I'm of the opinion that Kislev is pretty low on the tier list here. I would put them a little bit higher than Nurgle, specifically Kugath and Epidemius, for Katerin, Kulstalton, and Boris. And one of the cool things about Boris is that like he used to be different than the other Kislev factions because Chaotic Wasteland was yellow, and the difference between yellow and red is pretty big, but now that's not really a thing because they can convert it to green, and which is nice, but it just takes time. But Boris,
it's still yellow in the meantime. Like,
not awful. Yeah.
I mean, he might be better than the two main because he actually boosts their best units pretty decently. And can confederate Katerin pretty quick.
Oh yeah, Mother Astankia though is ridiculous. She's actually like incredibly good. She can just teleport around between all the magical forests, and she can get all these souls and stuff that basically allow her to put curses and all these like different. It's almost like Gram's Cauldron, but for Kislev with the teleporting of magical force and everything, and she can do it instantly, almost kind of like Oxy. So she's just like incredibly strong even for Kislev. If she is going to be in this, she would be S tier for sure.
Yeah, I'd say probably, yeah, above Grimgor. Sounds good.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, so Mother Estancia, in short, is just amazing. But yeah, so Riggs, Lizardmen, definitely a wide range here.
Yeah, they're interesting. They also are a faction that kind of needs some more love as well, like the High Elves.
For sure they do. Yeah.
They do need some updates.
They're kind of
I
boring.
think. Yeah, they're not super duper interesting. Everyone talks about the geometric web or whatever and how it's...
Geomantic web, yeah.
Or yeah, everyone talks about the geomantic web and how it's not the best. I mean, that all still holds in multiplayer. Their economy, not good.
It's very low
Their
mid.
growth, not that good. The biggest strength just comes from their RB abilities, faction abilities. Legendary Lords are pretty good. In regards to multiplayer, that don't mean much. That could really be really good for single player, but...
They have a decent roster for sure. It's not bad.
Yeah.
They have good Lords of Magic. But
no, yeah, not a lot of armor, weak to missiles, and a lot of large dependence. So
yeah, they just kind of struggle, but start placing them.
well, let's go from worst to best now. And I'd say the worst Lizardmen Lord. Kai's like a horde faction, which
Akai is not really a multiplayer viable. He's just a horde faction. Like, he doesn't actually need settlements. He just kind of runs around everywhere, and it just doesn't lead to a good multiplayer experience. I don't think Nakai should really be played with in a multiplayer game. It's again one of those situations where, I mean, by all means, guys, if you want to play with Nakai, go ahead. But I think for the most part, if you're looking for the best multiplayer experience, he wouldn't be in the running.
yeah, just running around, giving settlements to vassals, and his play style is just not really that fun for multiplayer.
No, it's not.
I mean, but that's not to say like he's so good. Like I know a lot of these even A tier faction might be able to beat him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, agreed. It's just not really. Yeah.
Screw him. Horde faction sucks.
Suck. Horde
Yeah,
faction.
it's not fun. All right, this is our tier list. We do what we want. No. So the worst Lizardman faction though that's not Nakai, and I would say is probably Krokkar.
It's got to be Mazda Mundi.
You think so?
He's got
Over
just
Krokkar?
yeah. He's just got absolutely nothing going for him. Krokkar at least gets bonuses to like scar veterans and stuff.
He gets Spellcaster.
I mean, yeah, he is, but like Krokkar overall has a better start. He's got more expansion opportunity than
Does he though? Maybe like land, but I know Hexawaddle there is very like a rich province, and right north you take up Marathi early. I mean that's another insanely rich province.
No. Marathi's all red.
That sucks for Mazdamundi.
Yeah, but he also just has like no bonuses. He has nothing that really makes him good. He's just brutal. Just sucks. Like
Yeah, I know he's not good. I think you're right. I think I'd also put Krokkar over him. He just doesn't have much more, but it's more, and it's
yeah. Where do you think the Lizardmen go? Like Mazdamundi and Krokkar, for example, can't be higher than B. It would probably be more like C.
Yeah, dude, honestly, like I think they're in solid C.
Yeah.
I'd maybe put Krokkar over.
I would put Krokkar over Mazdamundi. Over Taklit. Yeah. I agree. I think
Mazdamundi, I just don't know. I really don't think like Mazdamundi, looking at him more, and I loaded in a campaign with him. He
just doesn't have much going for him at all.
He's pigeonholed down a certain path. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot going for him. He's
just mid as fuck. Like it's just
I think Teclis will be able to overcome his expansion difficulties.
Yeah. A faction that I also think is in C is Gorok. I think Gorok is better than Krokkar as well. He gets a lot of defensive bonuses.
The barrier is
good for sure. Yeah.
And defending for all units when defending.
Yeah.
Summons.
It's definitely yeah. He's not like way better than these factions, Krokkar and Mazdamundi.
No,
but
he's still a Lizardman.
Yeah, but he's better. And I mean, you can't discount barrier for all those units in defending. That's solid. But a Lizardman that is significantly better than the other Lizardmen for sure is Tehenowin. Tehenowin gets access to he can easily confederate a lot of the Lizardman lords all throughout Lustria. He can do it really quickly. He can also make sacrifices to Stotek and he gets skinks at like insanely reduced prices. He's a really strong lord. He also can just hit you with endless Flock of Dooms over and over and over again on his Pterodon mount, which by the way isn't even his highest mount. He's just fast on that Pterodon mount. So he's really good. But speaking of Pterodons, Tic-Tac-Toe is another lord that also is in B tier. I'm saying that you agreed with that, Riggs.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tic-Tac-Toe is just really solid. I mean, first of all, in multiplayer, Pterodon riders with Fireleash Bolas are just really, really good. They're really powerful units, incredibly good against high entity formations. So they're excellent against factions like the Empire, for example. But really anybody with with a lot of units. Tic-Tac-Toe just gets a lot of teardown with Fire Leech Bolas, but he just gets him better, and all of his skink heroes start with that mount. So he's really, really good, and he's at least lower B.
Yeah, I mean, he's around Tehanawan. I was just kind of debating on which one I thought was better, but I don't think, yeah, I do think the factions we have there above them are better than them, could beat them, will beat them, and also just provide more value in a campaign.
I agree.
But between them two, you know, I don't want to put them right next to each other, but I feel like it's not a bad thing. I mean, it does seem right for them there, yeah. We have more factions to go. Maybe some will split.
For sure. But definitely a B-, I think. They're definitely really solid. For Lizardmen, they're good, but overall, they're solid factions. I wouldn't hate to play them. But the final Lizardmen faction is the Ghosts of Pahawks.
What's his name? Oxyotl.
Oxyotl is just ridiculous. Oh my gosh, dude.
Everything's suitable. So if you have every suitable climate, that's like almost immediate A's here. It's just crazy.
Yeah, he has every suitable climate. Even though he suffers from the other things that Lizardmen suffer from, it doesn't matter because of his endless quests just teleporting all around the world. He can teleport everywhere. He can build things under your cities. He can make you get ambushed endlessly for free.
Masterful ambush, teleporting all over the map, reduced upkeep for good, chameleon skink units.
He's just unstoppable. I played a campaign where one of my friends was Empire and I was Oxyotl, and he was convinced that all he needed to do was defend his lands, like basically keep his army stacked up in his cities, and then he would be fine. And dude, he was not. I just teleported in right on Altdorf, one army, and then just bombarded him with Fire Leech Bolas and slaughtered him. Campaign was over in like 9 turns. Oxyotl
is a single player faction.
For sure. 100% single player.
Which is alright,
it's fine.
It is what it is.
NBD.
A lot of factions, yeah.
A lot of factions up there that are, single player only. But here's a faction, Riggs, that you and I have long disagreed on, which is Norsca.
I thought you were coming around, though, to my...
I am a little bit, but I want to hear your thoughts on Norsca.
I think they are a solid faction. I think the update that happened to them was good. You know what? It was a great update, as in a lot of the updates we've seen recently have just turned a bad faction into, like, arguably overpowered.
Yeah.
The update they got, they didn't become overpowered. They became solid.
Yeah.
They just became good. They became more fun to play as because they just became solid. Their ports give them a ton of money, so their economy could actually be really good.
So much, yeah.
And, they have a lot of suitable climates. It's barely anything's unpleasant or uninhabitable. It's just desert and magical forest are unpleasant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they just settle anywhere. So that's very defensible, good economy. The biggest thing holding them back is their roster. It's not awful, but obviously it's not great.
Yeah, not awful.
It doesn't have a ton of variability to it. So, where do we rank them? I'd say before we rank them, I'd probably put Rog.
I mean, Norscan trolls are good now. They're actually good. Like troll stacks, they regenerate. Trolls regenerate.
Yeah.
Low morale, but
I honestly, it gets really close. I mean, upkeep for Marauders going down, I mean, that's decent. So Wolfric could just have as many armies as possible. Low tier trash just expanding everywhere. I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
But Throg boosting those ice trolls in his army, that's really good. It is really good. I mean, you could win shorter campaigns with that army.
Plus, they get the monster hunts, which are really good.
Well, they both do, but yeah.
No, for sure. But I just want to... Like that makes Norsca better.
Oh yeah. So I'd give a slight edge to the Throg, but keep them close because they are very comparable. And I'd throw them.
I think they got to be high B. I mean, personally, I think they're beating these other factions at B. I
think they're flirting with A.
I agree. I mean, they could even be low A, to be honest. I mean, look at all their suitable climates, and the ports are ridiculous. And easy confederation.
Yeah.
Make the call, Riggs. What are they?
Ugh.
Let the world know.
Oh man, based on just the other factions that we do have an A, that's a steamed company.
Yeah.
I don't think you could put them there yet.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they're that level yet. I mean, even though the high elves there at the back of the list.
I still just think they have an edge.
They just have they have an edge mostly with their roster. Their expansion is quite similar because the Norsca could confederate. But high elves expansion is just quick.
Yeah.
Their economy is close. I mean, maybe Norsca's even a little better. But that's close. It's just the roster that really
holds Norsca back.
Yeah.
I think that they go in upper B though, for sure, right? Like
I do as well. I think they're better than honestly, I think
that they're at the top of the list. I mean, I'm being serious when I say that I think these Norscan factions for sure would beat Nagaryth. Would definitely beat I don't know about Nagaryth because they are all in ice territory, but like overall.
Yeah, Nagarath has, if we're talking overall, they're better, but Nagarath does have that unique 1v1.
Yeah, advantage. But like they're gonna beat the Lizardmen in here. They're gonna beat the Clan Angeron in here. They're gonna beat all these other factions. So I mean, I'm glad that Norsca's actually pretty good now because they've been kind of neglected.
Yeah, no, it's glad that they're an option in multiplayer campaigns, even though we haven't really featured them. Yes.
Yeah, I want to. I want to as well.
We've tried. We've tried. Yes, we've had a few campaigns
that have just failed.
Had to scrap,
Yeah, but we'll get to one where we do. But
honestly, actually, the one that we scrapped with them is because they were just amazing. Well, I forgot who I was playing against, but it was way worse.
I can't remember either. I think it was pre-update.
I think it was a dwarf. Yeah.
Oh, it was. It was when I was Thoric Ironbrow. I was like, I'm gonna get destroyed. There's no way.
Yeah.
But going from a faction that is actually really solid, jump over to a faction that just absolutely sucks, and that is the Ogres, baby. We actually had it on the channel, and it was a really fun time, right, Riggs?
Let me say, I want to talk. I'm a positive guy, so let me talk about the positives. They're fun. Oh shit. They're fun. Like, they're cool. Oof. I think they look cool. And the rule of cool is pretty high on the list of things I want.
Yeah, exactly. Grease's Goldtooth, dude.
I like
the fattest ogre.
Yeah, they're based on their units, play style. They're up there for me as one of my favorite factions. They're awesome. They're fun.
They're definitely fun.
Are they good though? Are they good at multiplayer?
God, no, they're so bad. Oh my God. Look, their climates are not bad. Their climate situation is honestly fine, but it really doesn't matter because they make absolutely no money at all. They are poor beyond belief. Grease's Goldtooth, like a little bit less, which is hilarious that he's poor considering he's the fattest and richest ogre. But that just means that the ogres are poor.
I do think the disparity in income is pretty high between him and Scrag. Like, he makes good, like, he has okay money because of all the resources at his main. His biggest thing is expansion, Greasus, where he's surrounded by really good factions in Cathay and the Chaos Dwarves, and his just expansion's not the best through the mountains. Oh yeah, and Grimgore, God. So his expansion's hard. Greasus' expansion's not the best. He could get good money though. I do think he can get good money.
Well, he also gets access.
He can't get it nearly as quick as a lot of other factions.
Who's Scrag or Greasus?
Greasus.
Yeah. Well, Greasus also in comparison to Scrag, Greasus also starts with a lot of the wonders, like the natural wonders and stuff, which definitely helps him out. But he is.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It helps him a ton.
Oh yeah, but he is still poor, like by all things considered. You're never gonna have 45 armies like Cathay will.
Yes, and that's more so though that not him making money, which he doesn't make a ton, but that's more so though the ogres just cost so much.
They cost so much.
That's the biggest thing.
Similar
the ogre units just cost a ton, and multiplayer campaigns. One of the best strategies is number. Or one of the most powerful things in multiplayer games is numbers. I mean, numbers matter. Just throwing a bunch of bodies at the problem until it's dealt with.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Which the ogres can't really do. They have not one, but Greasus especially could get a couple really good armies, and honestly, they could 1v1 a lot of factions in this game and win. But they'll be ground down. You won't be able to replace the units, and you'll lose the war of attrition. So
no, for sure. They also their camps are so vulnerable. You lose a camp and you're just dead.
It's the lifeblood. I mean, you could set them up in good locations. You know,
you
could do your best, and you could garrison them. It's not only like a Black Ark on land where you could garrison them at even more like upkeep reduction than just have really cheap units, really amazing cheap units in there. So they're defensible, but you're right. If it's lost, it's GG.
So I'm gonna put our second F tier faction in, and that's Scrag. He's better than Daniel, but he is just awful. I played with him. He's terrible. His start position is terrible. He makes no money. He's just absolutely awful. Yeah. But where'd you put Goldtooth, Riggs?
In Greasus, I'm pretty confident I could, as Greasus, say I'd have better campaigns against a lot of factions than I would as with Kislev.
Yeah, I mean, Kislev is
honestly, I think even Bretonnia, just because of Bretonnia's roster. I mean, I think Ogre roster is better. It's more diverse. I'd put them either at the high end of D that we have now or low C.
Gracious, really?
I'm
telling you right now, dude, I would 100% beat you with Bretonnia against
Lewin?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no way that you would beat me with Graces. You can have like Lewin's not good, but he's definitely better than Graces. Like the I mean, I don't know, maybe not though.
No,
Riggs.
I mean, if you're like the only thing that would put Lewin higher is the amount of armies he could get. Because
I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be a video and we'll find out.
yeah, I mean, I'd be fine.
It would be kind of interesting to see Lewin versus Graces. Yeah, kind of an odd matchup.
I mean, you could put him lower than Lewin if you want, if that's what you really are.
if you want to, you're entitled to your own wrong opinion.
So, and now for the Skaven, which inspired this channel's namesake.
It sure did, yeah. The Skaven are also one of my favorite factions. I mean, how many times have I said that now? Like 6? But they really are. They're just so fun to play as. They have a great roster. It might be lacking in some areas. I know they don't have flying, for example.
Not the best cav.
Yeah, they don't have the best cav either. But what they do have is some pretty insanely good monsters. They have, obviously, a ton of weapon teams, so many different kinds of range units. And, I know a lot of people like to dog on Skaven infantry, but Storm Vermin are not bad. They're really not.
Yeah, the roster is pretty solid. Their suitable climates are really good. The economy, it's not the worst in the game, not the best.
Yeah, definitely not the worst, but not the best.
And so it really just comes down to their expansion to see what lord is good. Starting with Clan Eshin.
Clan Eshin is a faction that I've actually played as. They used to be amazing, but I think just with DLC creep and everything else that's been buffed in the game, Clan Eshin is just kind of okay now. They're not bad when it comes to Skaven, but they're not great. I mean,
the biggest advantage they have is the shadowy dealings, but
for sure,
which is great. But with the insane cooldown it has,
50 turns for some of their best ones, outrageous.
Yeah, the utility just lessens. So yeah, I'd say they're still a very good faction, not the best Skaven faction, but on the tier list,
I mean, personally, I think that they're gonna be more of an upper B. I don't think that they're gonna beat any of those other factions in the A category. I think all of them would beat Clan Eshin personally.
I agree. I think the roster for the High Elves gives them the edge for sure. And their expansion is comparable, and so is the economy. So I agree with that. But for Pestilence, that's where I think arguably the worst Skaven faction.
Well, this is one that you've played as actually in one of our videos.
Yeah. And for the longest time, it was Rictus, but Rictus is a lot better now. They're not the worst. I'd say Pestilence is the worst, mainly because of the starting position.
I agree.
They're Skaven, so they're solid still. It's just Southern Lustria is just not the best starting position, especially for the Skaven Lord.
Well, for sure. You're surrounded by everybody that hates you.
Yeah, and he's definitely our lowest Skaven Lord.
Where do you feel he goes, Rig?
I just think that the economy of the Norsca would just give the edge, and honestly, Nagaroth is comparable with expansion. Suitable climate's a lot worse, but the High Elf roster with stock stance, wouldn't that give the edge?
Maybe. I mean, I'm content. What do you want to make the call here?
Yeah, it's kind of a coin flip there. I'm curious what your opinion on that would be.
Personally, I think just having more climates would give Pestilence the edge. I would definitely take Pestilence in that matchup. But when you played Pestilence on the channel, I played Clan Moors. And, Clan Moors, looking at their abilities, they don't look that interesting as a faction.
I'd give it to Pestilence in their ability-wise over Moors.
Oh, for sure.
I think what Moors has the advantage in.
Clan Moors just has the edge in expansion. They can expand everywhere in all directions and put their tendrils out all across the world. And also, they come into contact with other Skaven factions a lot easier than Clan Pestilence does, which makes Confederation easier. And not to mention, they can spam Storm Vermin. And Storm Vermin are not bad. Like, they're actually a really solid unit. One turn global recruit for Storm Vermin with shields, that's really good. So I think Clan Moors is honestly a lower fringe A tier faction. I mean,
I don't know. Can he beat Tyrion? I mean, can Clan Moors compete roster wise with the High Elves? And that's where I'm like, I don't know.
That's a tough one. I would say
I'm leaning on agreeing with you that I might put him over the High Elves.
No, I just don't. I don't think so, because the High Elves roster is just so good.
Yeah, you're right. Yes. What's it called? Swordmasters of Hoeth would just tear through.
Not only that, think about how much magic you have.
And they have flying Yeah. We can't. I don't think we could put more as a
No, definitely not. I mean, they're good, but they're not good enough to triumph over the High Elves. Clan Rictus is one that we thought was terrible for the longest time. And honestly, they were. You gain bonuses by retreating. Plus 13 melee attack for retreating. And in single player, that's not going to be that valuable. That's not something that you typically are going to be able to lean on, but you'd be shocked. In multiplayer, this happens all the time. You retreat all the time, and you just instantly gain a plus 13 melee attack bonus on top of all these other storm vermin buffs.
And what if you retreat, go into ambush, then you get the ambush off?
Exactly.
That's a plus 26 melee attack.
Yeah, exactly. And it needs to be said, plus 13 melee attack is not a small buff. That is big. That is a big jump.
I don't know if these buffs are able to put them above Moors, though.
No, I don't think so.
But I just think Moors expansion is a bit better.
I agree. I think it's really close, though. These factions are actually really close. I mean, Clan Rictus is solid, and you could turn Tzeentch into a melee monster. He can become really good, a really good duelist. So that's actually a really solid faction. But that takes us to the final two Skaven factions. And Riggs, I think that you have some big opinions on these guys.
Yeah, they're great. They have the benefits from Skaven, good climate. They have good expansion. They're good starting locations. But the biggest thing that they get is another thing that CA does. When new DLC comes out, CA tends to give great bonuses and great add-ons to these factions. And we see that in these two Skaven factions more than anything. They have the Forbidden Workshop for Clan Scryer, which is just great. It gives you some amazing buffs. You start with Skaven Blight, which is just the best city for Skaven. Ikaclaw, fantastic lord, as we all know. And he's the reason our channel name is the reason the way it is.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a soft spot in our hearts.
4 a.m. Ikaclaw impression.
But Clan Molder, though, on the other hand, honestly, I think they might even be a little better. So as good as the Forbidden Workshop is, the Flesh Laboratory might be even better, because the biggest disadvantage that Clan Scryer would have in larger matchup is the roster. Clan Molder circumvents some of those issues with having amazing melee buffs, which we've said melee is just a lot. Melee is so much more viable in multiplayer than it is in single player.
Oh yeah.
Humans are not as susceptible to just getting cheesed by range.
Yeah.
And so when you have cellular instability and all these other amazing buffs,
good.
it really closes the gap on roster disadvantages the Skaven have. So
Clan Molder is better than Clan Scryer, but not by much. But now where do we put them?
I think we need to put Clan Scryer and Clan Molder above Tyriad somewhere, just because solely on climate.
Yeah.
I mean, I do still think their expansion comparable, their economies comparable. Maybe I give the edge to the High Elves.
Yeah, I think.
So we're gonna put Scryer and Molder above Tyrion, but do we put them above Zhao Ming? I think that's the question.
Just trying to think about it. Would I take myself playing as Zhao Ming, or would I take myself playing as Clan Scryer?
Not necessarily in a head-to-head, just in general though. Like, where would you have the most success and the most matchups?
God, I just think Stock Stance's utility just insane. It really is. It's so good. And also, you could do some cheesy stuff with the Skaven. You can get this plus 4% for all settlement buildings faction-wide, recruit lords and disband them, and that bonus doesn't go away. But it's actually, you can actually get arguably even a better economy over time. Than I gotta put him above Zhao Ming for sure. I
think the climate, comparable. I just think it's the Stock Stance that really gives them that edge.
To be honest, I would honestly put him above the Chaos Dwarves. Well, I think that these better than the Chaos Dwarves.
Yeah.
Because sure, the Chaos Dwarves have good units, but so do the Skaven, and they have just more campaign bonuses, ambush and stuff. And I just think that bodes better, especially when you consider the Chaos Dwarves are very artillery heavy, which is very vulnerable to ambushes.
And what about the Dwarves and the Empire then?
Oh man, the Empire has a really tough time against.
I mean, well, that's the thing. We can't think of a head-to-head.
Exactly. I can't. I think overall the Empire's better.
I think Clan Scryer might be able to beat Elspeth and Carl.
Yeah.
However, we're talking about overall, and overall, Carl and Elspeth are going to will they have an easier time?
I think that they would have an overall easy time because you consider things like steam tanks and stuff. I don't know though. That's a good. You know what? It. Top of A tier, baby. Throw them up there.
I don't know. I mean,
it's a hard one because I do think all these factions are pretty evenly matched. I mean, some are a little better than others, but
tell us down below.
Honestly, tell us. All right, Riggs, take us to your favorite faction ever.
These guys are awesome.
Goated.
Okay. Eventually, I want to make a tier list on just what we like. We should actually do that. Let's make a tier list on what we enjoy and put those in S tier. Because they're fun. They have
Tomb Kings. We're talking about Tomb Kings. Yes.
Yeah, the Tomb Kings. They have very good unit models. They have fun mechanics. They're just fun.
But tell us how they do in multiplayer campaigns, baby.
I don't want to talk about it.
Tell us how good they are. What's their climates looking? Why are they Riggs? Why are they
Well, we've all know, we've said it, we'll say it again. Expansion is king. And when you're capped on armies,
Oh my god, dude. Dude, you have one army with Ketep, Cetra, and the Court of Libaris. One army for the first 15 turns. You cannot get one earlier than that. That is so bad.
yeah, I mean, they are at a disadvantage at the beginning. They kind of close the gap a little bit where they have maybe not as many as these other factions, but they have enough armies to actually be competitive, and being able to just re-recruit it immediately upon death.
It's really good.
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
So it's just when they start getting outscaled as the army caps is when you're screwed.
Yeah. With that said, the Tomb Kings overall suck. The Court of Libaris, F tier. They're just terrible. She's out there at the Court of Libaris, and she's just really bad. Same with Ketep. He's in the Western Mountains. He's got nothing going for him. And I know, Riggs, I know he's your boy, Cetra, but dear God, he's bad. He's just in the middle of the desert. Oh yeah, by the way, they can't confederate, which makes things even more terrible. So
yeah, but would you have him below Daniel? And
probably not below Daniel, but
I don't know if I'd have him. I mean,
I don't know if I'd put him below Scrag either.
Because their anti-large is not they're good anti-large faction.
No, yeah, I wouldn't put him below Scrag. Scrag is just But anyway, that takes us to the final Tomb King, which is my boy, Archon the Black. And Archon's definitely the best of the Tomb Kings, but he's still a Tomb King. And as a result, overall...
That extra army, though, I think that's worth bumping it up to D.
I agree. I don't think he's going to be high in D, but I would actually take him over Kislev, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Maybe, it's hard for me to place
Kislev's
him.
economy sucks.
Exactly. Kislev's economy sucks. And it's hard for them to get a lot of armies, too. And that's the thing is, Archon can get a bunch for free. So
yeah, honestly, in same context games, I think by the time Kislev it might be able to outscale Archon in army capacity, that's just way too late.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
So moving on to the Vampire Coast. This is a really interesting faction because they're basically vampires, but not. I mean, they are, but they have a totally different roster and a totally different play style. What do you think about the vampire counts, Riggs?
All right, so Vampire Coast, suitable climates, amazing. Again, one of the best in the game of suitable climates. They could settle almost everywhere and not take penalties. They
have a mediocre economy.
Yeah, their economy's not the best, but they survive.
Yeah.
They have Dead Rise again.
They have incredible staying power, in combat. They can just, or on the campaign map, they just can keep living.
The roster's good, not great, not awful.
Yeah, Necrofax Colossus is pretty good. The Depth Guard are great, for sure. Really like Depth Guard. They got some funny units like the Bloater.
So I think they're above D. I think they would do better than factions that we have in D. Would I put them, though, above the factions that we have in C?
I would not. In my view, the Vampire Coast, while not a terrible faction, I think their heavy reliance on things like guns definitely hurts in multiplayer. In my view, they're almost just a weaker version of the Vampire Counts, like a significantly weaker version of the Vampire Count. Their lords are pretty good, but not amazing. They can become good, and I'm not talking about just legendary lords. I'm talking about also their supporting lords. They just kind of struggle, and they don't have the heroes that the Vampire Counts do. But ultimately, I think the Vampire Counts are honestly a low C tier faction. I think they'll beat all the factions in D, but I don't think they're going to do it easily.
Vampire Coast has loyalty issues as well.
They do. That's something you know about.
Multiplayer loyalty matters way more than single player loyalty, because in multiplayer, some lords just need to hold the line. And when they're holding the line and not battling, the loyalty is going down.
Exactly. Yeah, no. But I'm going to put the Dread Fleet in C. I think that Luther Harkon is also in C. So I know that we don't play a ton of Coast, but Riggs, I don't think that Aranessa or Cloystra should be going into C, to be honest. I think that Luther Harkon and the Dread Fleet are significantly better than these two, mostly because of start position and their respective bonuses, especially for Cloystra. She really struggles being surrounded all by Dark Elves. There's not a whole lot you can do up there.
Yeah, so because we do not play Vampire Coast a lot, and I'm not as confident in ranking them as I am some of these other factions, I'm really curious to see what people think about them below, and if they think we're right or wrong, or not too far off with putting them in C here.
Yeah, let us know what we think. But I'm going to put Cloystra and Aranessa in at the top of D. I do think that they will beat all the other factions in D, but I don't think they're going to do it easily.
I think you can make the argument for low C, though.
You can. Maybe Aranessa, definitely not Cloystra. She's just surrounded by Dark Elves and just fuck. She also has no interesting bonus. But sure, yeah, we can put Aranessa in C. She's not terrible. But that takes us to the Vampire Counts. Also one of my favorite factions. I mean, you know, Riggs, I played what, Sylvania in
This was the only faction you played in Warhammer 2.
It was the only faction I played. I have like what, 1,200 hours in Warhammer 2, and it's all in Vlad von Karstein. In Warhammer 2. But in Warhammer 3, so their mechanics have changed a lot in Warhammer 3, but they're actually still a great faction, arguably even better with their Dead Rise Again. They have amazing heroes. Their climates are decent. They're pretty good. They're nothing.
Yeah, great legendary lords.
But yeah, amazing legendary lords. Really, really, I mean, there's a few that really stand out, but overall, great legendary lords. They are one of my favorite factions, but they have some major downsides. They have no range and are forced to rely heavily on flying, so that means no artillery. And we're not including the Sylvania handgunners and crossbowmen. You get like one every couple of turns. They don't count. But Riggs, where do you think that they go in this massive tier list?
Yeah, I think taking everything into account, like they lack on roster and their climates are not the best. Their economy is okay. The biggest thing is their expansion's pretty good, and that matters a lot. So
great logistics too.
Yeah. I'd put them at the top of B tier. I think. I don't know if you could. No, they're not going to beat those. They're not going to beat the people we have at bottom A.
I don't think so either. I just think, well, especially when you consider the High Elves with so much magical attack.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be tough. But yeah, I think they're all better than the rest of the factions. Well, so Gorst is different. Gorst is a completely different beast. I personally think Gorst is S tier, and I say that because
didn't they like nerf him though? I thought they nerfed him. Did they not nerf him?
They did a long time ago, and he's still amazing. But no, Gorst, the Caravan of the Blue Rosens and Helmut Gorst are just insane. We actually did a head-to-head that for fun, where I played as Helmut Gorst, and you were Tyrion. I think you remember how that went, Riggs.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
The zombies are unstoppable, dude. They were taking on Swordmasters of Hoeth. Zombies, like it was just insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might have to agree with you.
But where in S do they go?
I don't know. I mean, you probably know more.
I mean, personally, I think that he's going to be higher than most of these other factions. I just think because he can spam out just such a ridiculous number of armies, I think he's like way up here. I think he's like...
Yeah, being able to spam out that many armies at that cheap with actually being viable in late game with zombies.
I mean, yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm not going to put him higher than Lokir Felhard, but that would be a good matchup. I would take him over all the rest of these factions, and that's saying something because there are some powerful ass factions in this S tier column. But with the vampire counts concluded, Riggs, you're our resident chaos expert. What do you think about the Warriors of Chaos?
Warriors of Chaos in general are very solid. Best faction for climates in the entire game, along with the Chaos Dwarves. They have a good roster, not a lot of range, like no flying. So it's not the best roster in the game, but it's good roster. Their expansion is very solid. I think they're high A.
Well, let's rank each one. So where do you think our boy Kolek goes?
Starting with Kolek, I don't know if I could put him above the Empire or the Dwarves.
I mean, it might be tough. No, I couldn't, dude. No way.
No, and honestly, I don't know if I could put Kolek above the High Elves because the roster.
Oh, yeah.
The High Elves roster.
Well, also, Kolek can't confederate, and he has no good buffs. He's got, like, attributes to mass and dragon things. I mean, honestly...
the biggest advantage of the High Elves is the climate, but because he cannot have as many armies as the High Elves, I don't think the climate matters as much, so...
I don't think it does either. I mean, honestly, dude, I feel like he's a maybe higher B.
He might be high B. He might be the highest in B.
No, honestly, bro, I would take the vampire counts over him. I think he's, like, middle top of B.
Yeah.
But I mean, part of me is like, maybe Norsca's even better than him. Like,
yeah, honestly.
Because he just can't confederate.
Yeah, I think Norsca is better.
I'm pulling the trigger. He's just easily the worst Warriors of Chaos.
Yeah. No, the next worst I'd say is Sigvald, though.
Sigvald, yeah.
He could seduce units, which was nice, and he's got some things here and there, but again, same things as Kolek. Can't confederate. Economy's not amazing. He just doesn't. He's very milquetoast, and
yeah, I definitely think he's better than Kolek for sure. But where do you think he goes?
Can you put him above Norsca?
I feel like you might be able to. I mean, he's really strong as a legendary lord. He's got some good buffs.
But does that give him... I mean, it's just Norsca will be able to expand faster, and economy's better.
They are. I don't know.
I mean, his starting location is very defensible, a little more so than Kolek, not by much.
Yeah. So where do you think he goes?
I mean, this is hard. I don't know.
I think he's higher than Kolek, but less than the multiplayer count.
Do you think Slaanesh would be able to?
No, I got to put him higher, but not higher than the vampire counts. But who's the next weakest?
I'd say the next weakest is probably Azazel or Festus.
Yeah, probably Festus.
I think Festus's star location is just not as good. I mean, the plagues are good. I don't know, actually. I just think Nurgle units, though, are even a little better than Slaanesh. I mean, they're faster, though. Actually, I don't know. In multiplayer?
Multiplayer speed is really good. Oh,
Yeah, speed kills.
yeah, it really does. I would honestly put Festus one tier higher than
I'd agree.
Sigvald. So who's next?
I think you might be able to put Azazel
Right next to him.
above.
Yeah, I mean, Azazel's good. He's taken on just Kislev, so, it's free pickings there. Really not much. Kislev just sucks. And then I guess you're just putting Valkyrie the Bloody right there.
No, honestly, I think Valkyrie the Bloody is actually where we have our first step up. But do you put him above the vampire? Maybe. Okay, here's why I think you actually put him above the vampire counts, Valkyrie.
Why is that?
She has access to bloodletting, 15% movement range after winning a battle, all characters. That's really good.
That's really good, yeah.
They have Frenzy. She's a great lord of the battlefield, and her star position is amazing. She's sequestered up there.
Yeah, no, she really is. She's got a great way to expand.
Yeah, so I mean, I think with the roster compared to the vampire counts is a lot better.
You might put her higher then.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, just because of the suitable climates, especially.
Yeah,
I think. And then
I agree. Yeah,
Village
is actually really good. His teleporting and everything that he has, changing the ways, he's really strong. I think he's a significant step up personally. I know that he can't confederate either, but I would, if it came to it, I would choose Village over many of the factions that we have in A tier. Personally, I think he's going to be right around here in the middle of A.
I'm okay with that placing for sure. I think that's a good spot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's good.
All right, now for the two best Warriors of Chaos.
Oh, for sure.
Because they can confederate all the other Warriors of Chaos.
One is definitely better than the other.
Yeah, let's start with the worst, and it's Archaon.
It's Archaon. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, he's great. Honestly, though, like Archaon's not that much better than Sigvald. Like as a faction, they have the same. I mean, they just
similar mechanics.
Yeah, it's just that the confederation of these amazing legendary lords.
You get all of them.
Yeah, and their territory to boot. So it's just great.
I think Archaon's got to go up there in either high A or maybe low S, but he's flirting with S, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. No, they can't compete with the Greenskins, with the WA.
Probably not.
Crazy.
Yeah, they just get worn down. But I do think they're.
I agree with you. The high A though, and with the Skaven, yeah, I mean, I think
this would be a close matchup.
I think it would be a close, but from overall though perspective, just in campaigns in general.
Oh, for sure.
I think I'd probably have an easier time playing as Archaon against most factions than I would be playing as the Skaven.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Archaon would do well against a lot of the factions in S. He won't beat them, but he's not going to get rolled over. So it should be a close game. But that takes us to our final and most powerful Warriors of Chaos with Be'lakor. Well, Riggs, tell us why.
Be'lakor, he's borderline not multiplayer viable. I think he is actually.
Yeah.
He could corrupt the player you're playing against, Lords, to join your side.
Which is so busted.
He starts with all the Chaos God gift slots.
He can teleport.
That's the biggest thing. Teleporting is just
so strong in multiplayer.
So strong.
I think when you pair that with his kiss where he turns your Lord to his side, I mean, I think you have to put him in not multiplayer viable. There's just really no way to stop him.
He could just teleport in, kiss and run. And he just avoids battle until that Lord is yours.
Yeah, he's just...
It's wild. Oh, and then he can confederate.
All of the Warriors of Chaos, including Archaon. So
yeah,
it's just wild. But that takes us to the final faction, which is the Wood Elves. Not a lot of Wood Elves featured on the channel, Riggs. Want to let us know why?
Oh, well, I mean, that sounds like a broken record, but teleporting is OP. I mean, it is.
It really is, yeah. But that's not it only for the Wood Elves. I mean, the Wood Elves are just busted across so many.
Well, let's go. So economy, not the best.
Okay, it's not.
Roster, amazing.
Amazing. Arguably one of the best rosters in the entire game. It's so strong.
Suitable climate again, exactly the same as Warrior of Chaos. They could settle anywhere.
Yeah.
What the hell? That's amazing.
It doesn't really matter that much for them though, because obviously they can't have normal settlements out in the hinterlands. They're really focused on, the great trees, but those great trees are so powerful, and even when they're raised, you can still teleport back to them. So you can never really defeat the Wood Elves. It's just so hard to do it. You have to kill every last soul and guard all their trees, stop them from teleporting back and taking them. And it's not going to be easy because their armies are amazing.
But some of these S tier factions have the numbers and expansion to be able able to withstand this teleportation and then slowly just take over the world. And
Hell no.
well, I don't know though. Like, what's his name? Like, could Drika and the Dirt? I mean, yeah, could they support a ton of armies?
They can have a lot, but I think that Arguelon, Drika, and the Sisters of Avalorn, do I think they're not multiplayer viable? No.
Exactly. Let's try to determine if any of these Wood Elves are multiplayer viable, because we know one of them is certainly not.
Well, yeah, and
honestly, just put them up there already.
Let's just get them out of here. Yeah.
Declare war against everyone, win the game.
Basically. Orion has one of the dumbest, funnest, just stupidest abilities in the whole game, where for every war that you're in, all armies receive a 4% reduction in upkeep. So they're pretty much just all free. So running around with 40 billion armies that have 0 upkeep, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, and if you're playing against Orion, you're gonna have a bad time.
You will not win. You will not win that matchup. But then that takes us into the other and final 3 Wood Elves. The Wood Elves, as we said, are all really, really strong, but they're not Orion strong. So you can play with them. They're going to be some of the best factions that you face in S tier. You're going to really struggle to bring them down, but you can do it. I don't know if I would put them higher than Gelt. Maybe I would, but it's going to be close. I
honestly, I think I would. The Gelt's main advantage is those wizards, and although amazing,
I actually probably wouldn't put them higher than Lokir, because Lokir just get so many black arcs, and they're all like 70% cost reduction. But I mean, so they're definitely S tier factions. They're not going to be the highest in S tier. I know we have some really, really strong factions here in S tier. I don't think they're going to beat Gelt with his 40 billion wizards and cataclysm spells, and I don't think he's going to beat Jade Court, and I don't think they're going to beat Lokir Fellheart with an entire navy. But they are going to beat most of these factions in S tier. So they're way high up there.
But yeah, that concludes the official Warhammer 3 multiplayer tier list.
It's been fun.
I mean, am I supremely confident in all these placings? Yes. Do I think that anyone else can make a better list? No. So, no, I'm joking. Obviously, some things can change depending on context, like we said. But at the end of the day, use this guide to have really good help in determining what kind of matchups you want to face against.
Should help you have some really fun head-to-head campaigns.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, everybody.
Again, tell us what you think down below. Let us know where we went right, where we went wrong. And I'm really curious to see your personal experiences with these factions. And if you have any extra little tips for us that we could incorporate in our games. I mean, maybe we're missing something. Maybe tic-tac-toe is insane. Tell us why.
Tell us why below in the comments.
But that's all we got to say. So thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And we'll see you next time with some more Warpstone.